By day, let me introduce you to Sam. He is a strategist, and by night, he is a creative powerhouse, and he will share some of that with us today. So this morning, give a very warm welcome to Sam Taylor, a very joyful Sam.
Okay, thanks y'all for coming through. I just wanted to shout out all the people who were able to support me in being here today, friends, family, collaborators. So without y'all, I wouldn't be here today talking to you now. Okay, let's get into it. So we probably all know this, but we live in the craziest timeline right now. I feel like everything is literally insane. We've had the slap that rocked the nation take over our feeds and cause a lot of discourse. We've had Gwyneth Paltrow's crazy ski court case. I don't know if you saw what was going on with that, but apparently she hit someone or someone hit her, and people started to create AI-generated lore about the ski incident, which was really crazy. And now we're in Brat Summer, so yeah, it's crazy. I guess we all fell out of the coconut tree or something, so it's been a wild ride. And I feel like with all of that, it's hard to navigate what's going on, what's real, what's fake. It's really easy to feel like we're spiraling. So with that idea of spiraling and feeling like you're alone, especially coming out of this lockdown period, it's easy to feel like you don't know where you're going and you feel ungrounded. But I feel like the idea of the spiral and the concept of the spiral is really simple. It's this very simple shape that reminds me a lot of this concept of a labyrinth. I don't know if folks are familiar with labyrinths. But essentially, labyrinths are these spaces that are grounded in almost like this spiritual practice. It's about the pilgrimage of life, and there's one way in and one way out. It's very different than a maze where you go in and you get lost. This is a really intentional footpath that allows you to kind of meditate and really ponder on those ideas that have been sitting with you. And I feel like for me, my journey as a creative is reminiscent of this spiral or labyrinth where you go in and you dig deep and research and learn about things, and you come out and you're you again. So I feel like with rituals, there's always this idea that you're improving yourself, you're transforming, you're becoming something new. But my relationship to rituals is becoming more of myself and being more grounded in who I am. The goal isn't to come out this better person or come out in a certain way, but to just come out stronger as myself. So ritual to me is this mix between intention, intuition, environment. My understanding of these terms is that intention are the things that you say and do, intuition are the things that guide you and influence you, and the environment are the people around you, the place that holds you and makes you feel whole. And right in the middle of that is where your ritual comes in. So for me, during that big lockdown period, I feel like I was going to a lot of virtual events and trying to find people while also isolated, and I just wanted a space that I felt like I belonged. But I was also, I feel like having this feeling or this unease or not feeling settled where I wasn't having the conversations that I wanted to have. So these two things were kind of reckoning with each other, but then I feel like I was validated by my environment where my friends and family were also saying they feel isolated and not as connected as they used to feel. So I feel like that's where this all kind of begins. What's funny about this time period is that I was also starting work, kind of living a double life. There's me acting normal, and then there's the real me. And what that ends up looking like is me working as a brand strategist at 29, where I do my day-to-day stuff with clients, and then me also working as head of community at Index, which was at the time this like virtual meetup course-based space for people to hang out and learn with each other. So during that time, thinking about all these rituals, I really fell in love with this idea of collective readings, gathering people around a text and having really intimate conversations about our personal experiences and also like how we're relating to reading. I feel like reading, unless you're like carving out the space for it, it's kind of hard to like weave into the day-to-day practice with everything that's going on right now. So the concept of this is that it's low maintenance and essentially you show up and read out loud to each other. So that way you don't have to worry about reading ahead. You can just show up and make some food on Zoom and listen to people read to you. During that time, we read All About Love, which was a great book, just talking about our relationships with one another and our families and our friends. We also read Bliss Montage, which is a great collection of surrealist short stories about not only relationships, but ancestry and really relating to this like familial network. So this was like a really great time for me to tap into reading, tap into like being with people in community in this virtual context. And it was this ritual that allowed us to just get closer with a bunch of people I've never met before. So during this time, I was also reading things personally and collectively. A lot of these books really inspired the work that I do today. So we were reading a lot about connection, not only to each other, but into the place we live when it comes to like our locale, also how we gather and what that looks like and how you can make that a great space to be. The Extreme Self, incredible book about the way we relate to each other online and those like class systems that we form on the internet, how I relate to fiction, but also how I relate to the environment with everything going on with climate. It was a lot of like, I need language to figure out what I'm doing and why I'm here and what's going on. And from that, I feel like I was getting deeper into this spiral. Essentially, once we finished this collection of readings, we ended up turning Index online into a physical space. So Index formed a physical location in New York and Chinatown on 120 Walker. We were able to create a space for the courses and readings that we were having online, but also a space for people to co-work with one another. So you could grab a coffee and chill and hang out. But for me, I was going back and forth, but I'm based in Richmond. This is my home, not moving anytime soon. So I really crave this physical connection, physical space, and like place to meet in person. So my great friend Nicole, who's the head of design over in the graduate program at VCU, we were talking and they brought me in on this project at the ICA. So at the ICA, at this time, they were working on this exhibition and research project called Murmur, which was all about reading and being intentional about gathering people around text, which fell right in line with what I was already doing. So I went deeper with Nicole and the rest of the team at the ICA to help see these visions come to life. So Nicole was able to work on this amazing conversation pit style space outside, as well as this like book cradle bed where the books were in the blankets and you could kind of like nestle in and read and hang out with people. In addition to this piece, there was also this amazing piece by Riley, which was an inflatable piece of furniture inspired by slime molds, so it would move around the space. And essentially where I was able to come in was as this curator and like archivist of materials. So my role was designing the cafe space and making that feel like it's connected to the ecosystem and creating a microsite where all this research could live. And I feel like I just got to read and feel a bunch of weird materials and organize a bunch of things, but it was a great way for me to see what this process could look like in person and see how these like different reading events could translate into something IRL. So from there, I was really interested in gathering people again, but instead I was like all in on sleep. So I started to do these like sleepovers where I would host a bunch of people in my apartment and I do like sonic performances throughout the entire night. So the idea is that when you wake up, this performance that's synced with your REM cycle, you end up having these connected dreams. So it was a moment to talk about your dreams, draw them, write them, share stories, and just another way for people to have conversations about these like intimate parts of their lives and something that's so personal. So from there, I feel like I was hosting a bunch of these, but I needed to take some space for me. So I moved in with some of my best friends, and I adopted a cat, Capsha. He's a great guy, and basically, I feel like this was just a moment for me to focus on myself. I feel like you kind of get into this habit where you think you have to keep going and like doing and making things, but I just want to highlight that it's very important to, step back and really think about what your personal relationships and life looks like. So after this period of like relaxation and dealing with this troublemaker, I was able to plan the 10th anniversary of the design agency I worked at. So basically we had a big party where we could kind of talk about like what the future of design looks like, what the future of this index space looks like, how all of these things speak to each other, and how we can get people excited about community. And essentially, I think this moment was like, okay, I planned all these events, I planned this big rager, okay, I'm feeling good. I think I need to like step back a little bit and kind of figure out what's next. So I feel like this is the point where you kind of come out of that labyrinth, you've walked back out, you've dug deep, and now I'm like, okay, what is next? Like, what am I doing? Do I want to keep doing these events? What's going on? And during this time, there was also this like expansion, I guess, of the index world and the space that I worked in, where there was a space open up in Amsterdam that's connected to index. So we have like a node space program. Essentially, if you have a third space you want to open, we have a grant program that's open where you can apply to make that third space realized. So Post Office, which is based in Amsterdam, was the result of that space. And essentially, I think this started to get me thinking like, okay, I've been like working in New York, like building out this like infrastructure for community and people to meet. And then this space, we helped them realize this in Amsterdam. Why can't I do this here? So I feel like this moment was kind of like a crossroad where it's like, okay, I could keep running on autopilot, hosting these events in other people's spaces and figuring out what that looks like in perpetuity, or I could take a risk that feels like it's made for me. I feel like I'm ready, I feel like I'm excited, and people in the community are telling me that they want this type of experience here. So that's where the hunt came in. So we started looking for spaces, we started to do a lot of research on what the right fit would be, where we wanted this space to live, and then we ended up finding this space over on West Main Street and fell in love with it. And that's where ours comes in. So we were able to find this space and really like invest in how this was gonna look, and we were working with amazing people to figure out how this was all gonna work together. And we started doing some planning and like early like tours and letting people in to dream and imagine what the space could be. Essentially, the idea is that I really wanted a space for people to co-work in, hang out in during the day, have courses, but also like a sober hangout space at night that's actually open on Mondays. So from there, we started doing some research. We've been like working with people on what the programming is going to look like when we open later this fall. And it's just been a great moment to like reevaluate what I need from a space in order to make it feel the most inviting and the most exciting for the people participating in the programming that I run. So we started working on some sketches, we're building out a kitchen, I really want to have some pasta making sessions and like hangouts, and we're renovating some stuff, very like DIY. So all those years of HGTV really worked out. Yeah, so we've been working on all of that, and it's been really great. And now I'm in a Facebook Marketplace rabbit hole, essentially. That's kind of what got me to where I am now. I'm like always on Facebook Marketplace. If anyone has like outdoor patio furniture, let me know. But yeah, I'm like all in on this right now, and I feel like this interior like design and experiential design space is like this new spiral I'm entering in right now, and I've been obsessed with it. So just to recap on things, essentially what I found is that like this mixture of like intention, the things that you do, the things you say, and intuition, like listening to that like inner self, listening to that guiding force about like what feels right for you, and then environment is really where everything comes together. Because I feel like the intention and intuition, it's like this personal thing, but when you get that feedback externally, that's when I feel like you know, okay, this is the thing, like I need to push forward on this. So essentially, I think the big thing here is just starting today. If you have something that you feel like is like pulling and calling you, this is the time to start it. Like, if you want to talk about it after together, we can dream together and figure it out. But now's the time to start it. And I think the biggest thing as well is inviting your friends. It's really hard to like do things alone, especially if you feel like it's daunting or overwhelming, and that's what you have your people for. So call on them and don't be afraid to do that and live for each other. It's important that you're not just focusing in on personal growth and like go, how can I grow individually, but how can we like live for each other and grow collectively and intentionally. And lastly, tell everyone. So don't just like keep it to yourself. If you have a life hack or a small thing that's really like changing your life right now, tell people, get people in. How can you do this with others? It's not just you out here. We all need some help. So tell everyone. And with that, I just want to leave an open invitation. If you want to hang out later tonight, we're going to be having a little kickback at the space. We can talk more about what you've been dreaming on, and I'm going to be grilling. So, yeah, come through, but thanks, y'all.
All right, we are going to open up for some questions for the joyful Sam here. So, this is what's happening tonight, so everyone's welcome. Oh, I'm going to start here, and I'll come to you.
Good morning, Sam.
Good morning.
It sounds like all the things you've done were things you love, but they were for other people. In the midst of all that, what do you do for you to keep you sort of focused and grounded? Because it's easy to give a lot of yourself and forget that, wait a minute, what about me over here?
I think the biggest thing is just having people around you who can like check you and have you pause the brakes. Like, honestly, I think it's hard. Being like self-accountable is like hard. And I personally would like to offload that work when possible. So I just think it's important to have like people you know who can like check you and like make sure that you're getting that massage or like taking a nap or eating during the day, you know? Like, it's important to have those people. So I feel like that work is honestly like not my job.
All right, so are there rituals that you return to time and again that you've noticed throughout your life?
Yeah, I would say I do a lot of like writing or like kind of like a audit situation. So like I really like to use like Pinterest or Arena to kind of like gather, okay, this is everything I've been doing, this is everything I've been consuming, and these are all the people that are around me. Like, what is this? Like, is this working? You know, I feel like those check-ins really, really help me feel comfortable with myself, but also like aware of what's going on, because it's easy for you to just be on autopilot. I think it's just easy to check off boxes. And I just want to like, you know, draw a circle. So, yeah.
I'm really amazed by how many risks you've taken. And I'm curious if you can talk a little more about finding the right balance between risk and safety. I mean, it sounds like you still have a day job. So yeah, how do you balance like where to take risks, where to play it safe so you have security and a good foundation?
I would say that like the idea of telling everyone is the thing. So like you'll have support if you have people to lean on. So if you're vocalizing and verbalizing to professional context, but and personal context, what you're interested in doing that really fuels you, then you'll have those people in your life that you can really rely on if something goes crazy or like that foundation's gone, because everything is so volatile. Like basing all of your foundation on yourself just feels like an impossible challenge. And I think the real safety you find is with others. So if you're able to like have that community that can like support you if something falls through, I think that makes the biggest difference. Hey.
As an imaginative event creator, I'm curious how you balance our like kind of nervous seeking for ritual and reliability and repetition with experimental, creative, like let's cover some new ground, especially in the chaos.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm always open to try things twice. So if someone has an idea and it feels really crazy, I'm like, okay, how can we support this realistically with what we already have? I think it's just a matter of like doing some like tests. I feel like when we have an event that's like out of the ordinary or very strange, we do like a one-off. And then if the turnout feels good, if the energy feels good, then we're like, okay, let's make this into like a multi-week situation. But yeah, I think if you try things twice, you'll know. If you try things once, it's like there wasn't really a chance for you to take things off the ground, and I feel like that's where people stop. Yeah.
So, you mentioned in this space that it will be sober and Mondays. Could you talk just a little bit more about that piece of the detail? I feel like as a creative, being sober or choosing that, whether it's for a short time or a long time, or needing to choose that, has felt very countercultural in the past. But I feel like it's becoming more, we have to do what's right for us. So can you just speak about that a little bit?
Yeah, I feel like being in the design agency like world, like grabbing a beer or something is like a regular thing. But for me, it's like, one, I like really tasty, yummy drinks. So I'm like, I'd rather have like a matcha or something. But I feel like for me, it's like having a space that will be this point of clarity, or this space of like offline serenity, where it's like you don't have to feel like you have to be up. You can just show up as you are, and you don't need this like thing to augment your like social experience. Because I feel like we already have these like layers that we're using to communicate virtually, which is also the stimulant that's like messing with our nervous system already. And it's like, why would I add like this other thing to that experience when I'm really trying to connect to people as they are day to day, not as they are like stimulated? So I think that's the thing that's the most interesting to me, is like, how can we gather people and be comfortable with being around people as they are? So, yeah.
So, Tim, with you telling everybody, keep it in that spirit, right? And now that we're all a part of your community, outside of patio furniture, how can we all support you?
I would say show up tonight. Follow the Instagram. I think the big thing for me is just like telling other people about this work and about this space and that we're coming. I just want there to be this like wave of excitement and intrigue and imagination around what this could be. And it's not something that I'm building myself, it's something I'm building with you all. So I just want it to be something that everyone feels like they can contribute to. So if there's anything you would want to like teach, or anything you would want to have a conversation around, talk to me. Let's get it organized, get it on the books. We'll be open this fall, so yeah.
Don't you just love it? I love it.
You can follow Sam at To Humankind or and ours.today at ours.today, and we'll tag all those things in our socials as well. I'm going to wrap up by saying this dinner that my friend Alex put together was a unique experience, and he did not group text us. There was no group invitation. I didn't know who was going to be there. It was, let's get together and see what happens. And it really mirrors what we try to do here at Creative Mornings. So we want to create a space that's intentionally created with dots and name tags and rituals of manifesto readings to create a space for you. There's no group text, there's no aftermath, but meet someone intentionally and do that with intention and create a ritual, like Michelle said. So thank you, Sam, for being here. We love you so much.